Kat was telling me one time when she used to do more frequent podcasts, or still does podcasts, that like one of the things she really gets annoyed at is an interview podcast when people will ask you a question, you answer, and they don't have a follow up. They just ask
the next question.
It's
sometimes H3's like that, and it annoys me. But I mean, whatever. The thing is getting in the mindset of being an interviewer or being like having a conversation. If it's a straight up interview, that kind of makes sense, because the thing is not to have a back and forth. It's, I'm asking you the questions, you're giving the answers. You're done with that answer, I'm going to ask you another question. Or maybe a follow-up question, but probably not. You know, like, I've got my list of questions, I'm not straying from this list. And I think that's why some podcasters and stuff like not fail, but they aren't as interesting, because you as the listener, you want them to elaborate or you want them to keep going, and they're kind of just like, oop, got that check box marked off, now it's on to the next question. Like, the whole time that they're talking, they're only just thinking about how they're about to ask the next question. And versus like Joe Rogan or something, he goes in there with like basically no notes and is just curious and just keeps asking them more things and talking about things he's interested in. That's what I tried to do with my podcast.
But I also like how Joe is not always on the side of the guest. Like, he'll rebut, or he'll argue back, or he'll fight, or he'll challenge. Like, totally.
Even if he does agree with the guest, sometimes he'll push back on it because he knows there's members of the audience that would be pushing against it.
I think my favorite Slam episode was the one with
Adam questions everything. Oh my god,
Adam ruins everything. Where basically, like, every claim he made with strict and absolute authority, Joe was like, "No, that's not." And he's like, "But yes, it is." And he's like, "What? Where?" And he's like, "Everywhere." And he's like, "Yeah, but like, says who?" And he's like, "Everyone says who." And it's like,
dude, Joe slammed him in that episode.
He pushed him into a corner where the guy goes, "I don't know. You just have to like look it up."
You'll have to ask experts or whatever.
He's like, "I'm not an expert." And it's like, motherfucker, you're going on a TV show on. That's supposed to be the expert. You're supposed to be the truth. Like, you are the one who's like debunking these things. And when you're challenged about the thing you're debunking, all of a sudden you're like, "Oh, you should rely on the expert." It's like, you're the one who's interjected yourself as the expert.
That was one of the episodes.
You should probably figure it out.
That was one of the episodes that I was like really looking forward to, because I liked his.
I like the show.
Adam
show. Ruins Everything is a good. I like the show, but Joe kind of ruined that show for me.
Oh, 100%.
Because I'm like, oh damn. Like,
well, that's the thing, is most of the time when people go on a podcast, it humanizes them. It makes them more likable. I mean, even if they're people that are like generally hated, you know, like, you're like, oh, you know, that guy's actually kind of a nice guy. And that was one of the episodes where I was like, that ruined that guy for me. Like, I don't like that guy anymore, because he was just pandering the whole time to like very just weird stuff that wasn't backed by science. It was just like going towards the narrative, and we don't have to necessarily go down that whole rabbit hole of that conversation, but like,
one thing that the Adam guy had a point was that he goes, it is a 22-minute 3-segment show. He goes, we've got 3 segments to like cover extremely complex topics.
And so he's got a lot of researchers too that like,
and you have to like cram it all into one little small package. Like, I felt that way. Like, this video that's going to come out, like, I did a bunch of research on it, and one of the, like, I took a course, but even before the course I watched a whole bunch of videos. But the guy who was teaching, his style was so fast-paced, and his style was so information-dense that I had to watch the videos over multiple times to like fully grasp what he said, because in the first 60 seconds I'm like, you just gave me so much information, can't compute. And then
watching halftime instead of double.
Yeah, like I think our How to Live Longer video was kind of like that. It was like 7.5 minutes, but it was just so crammed, packed full of information. Like, I've literally, like, people like in the comments would be like, "Hey, can you talk about blah da 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 da?" And I'm like, it was in the video. Like, did you miss it? Like, I'm very confused.
Yeah, I don't know. If anyone wants to watch that Adam Ruins Everything episode, is Joe Rogan episode 1282 with Adam Conover. So, anyways,
yeah,
just a little reference.
Yeah, that was an episode. But yeah, Joe, my most recent favorite one that I actually ended up listening all the way through was him and Post Malone just kicking it.
Me too, dude.
Him and Post Malone just kicking it was like, all right, I can fuck with this.
They did mushrooms before.
Oh, was that right?
They microdosed mushrooms.
I know they were
before.
Drinking, and they smoked some weed too, didn't they?
I assume so. I mean,
I heard the lighter.
I don't think Post smokes weed.
Does he not?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I
heard they microdosed mushrooms before, and they were drinking a lot of Bud Lights, which is Posty's drink of choice.
Yeah, I just heard the lighter sound. You know, they're like,
Yeah. I bet Joe was smoking for sure.
yeah, I listened to it in my headphones like over multiple days because who has 4 hours straight through?
I had it on YouTube, but in the background, like I was watching it kind of like I was like assembling this little shelf that I got, and I was like doing a bunch of random things, and I was like half watching it, half not. But a lot of people were divided. Like I'm in a couple of Joe Rogan Facebook groups, and people were like, "That was the worst episode ever," and then the other half of people were like, "That was the best episode ever. What are you talking about?" And
I mean, Post Malone gets a lot of good views on podcasts. Like when he's on H3, like
I mean, he hasn't been on
7
H3 in years, but yeah.
But like that's still one of the more popular episodes.
Oh, for sure. I mean, the other thing about that episode is Post Malone is one of the youngest guests ever, if you think about it, because he's only 25. The other youngest guests that I can think of are Marquez Brownlee. He was like 23 when he went on the first time. That's MKBHD if you don't know.
But he's highly qualified. He's been doing that for over a
and
decade.
then there was that guy, that kid who like figured out how to like turn like ocean waste into energy or something along those lines. And he was like 22 at the time or 21. But still, like I think it's weird that Post Malone is so young because you think I always think Post Malone's like 30 or something. But he's like 25.
He looks like
He's younger than Justin Bieber.
When I look
That's
at Post
whack.
Malone, I'm like, oh, you look like a line chef at an Applebee's who smokes menthol cigarettes and goes to NA meetings. Like that's what you look like.
He does look like a line chef.
Like I always hate it when girls are like, OMG, Post Malone is so perfect. I could never get anyone like him. And it's like, just go to your local Applebee's after it closes and go back to the dumpsters and find the guy who's taking out the trash and smoking cigarettes. There's your Post Malone right there.
100%.
Like right there is your Post Malone. Like that's your guy. Like he's like your line. It's like, fuck out of here.
It is always funny when someone becomes like successful and they're like generally objectively kind of weird looking that people are like, oh my God, they're so hot. And it's like
Fame
it's
does
like
a lot.
they're hot because
Fame and talent. Fame and talent.
And it is like kind of interesting because it's like you could probably see Post Malone walking around if you didn't know who he was. You'd be like, that guy's fucking weird looking.
Swamp rat looking motherfucker.
Especially with his tats.
Yeah, swamp rat looking motherfucker for sure.
But hope you enjoyed that clip. If you want to watch the full episode, you can click right here. If you want to subscribe to the channel, you can click right here. If you want to watch more clips, we got 2 more right over here.